Before we begin, please imagine the bell notification is on and you're subscribed to Huna Stories. I used to believe a marriage could survive secrets if the secrets were meant to protect it. That was the justification, anyway. My wife thought I worked for a logistics consulting firm. It explained the travel, the odd hours, the habit of stepping outside to take calls. It explained enough that she stopped asking questions after the first year. We'd been married 5. Before that life, I spent 8 years in Delta Force, the kind of work where you learn to read rooms faster than people read faces. Afterward, the FBI picked me up for undercover work. Same instincts, different paperwork. But none of that ever came home with me. Home was supposed to be the quiet place, the blind spot, until the phone call. It happened on an ordinary Tuesday evening, the kind that disappears from memory unless something goes wrong. I was in the hallway heading toward the kitchen when I heard her voice from the den. She had the door half closed. Normally, I would have kept walking. Instead, I heard one sentence. "Honey, the life insurance is $2 million." Her voice sounded calm, almost casual. I stopped. A pause on the other end. Then she continued. "Make it look like a home invasion tonight." No tremor, no hesitation, just planning. My first reaction wasn't anger. It was the kind of silence that training drills into you, the brain shifting into observation before emotion gets a boat. I stayed still long enough to hear the call end. The door opened a few seconds later. She stepped out holding the phone, saw me in the hallway, and smiled like nothing had happened. She leaned in and kissed my cheek. "Dinner's ready, sweetheart." I smiled back. That part wasn't hard. I've lied to worse people. We sat across from each other at the table. Chicken, rice, green beans, the same meal she'd made dozens of times before. The house smelled normal. The lighting was warm. The world hadn't changed. But every small detail suddenly meant something. She checked the clock twice while we ate. Her eyes drifted toward the back windows more than usual. Her phone stayed face down beside her plate. Meanwhile, my brain was reconstructing timelines. Life insurance policy. We had one. I signed it 2 years earlier after she insisted we should be responsible adults. 2 million sounded about right. The phrase "tonight" narrowed the window, and the phrase "home invasion" told me exactly how the scene was supposed to look afterward. I kept eating. She talked about the neighbor's new dog, about the grocery store being out of the pasta she liked, about a movie she wanted to watch later. Her voice sounded warm. That might have been the strangest part. At one point, she reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "Bong day?" she asked. "Something like that." She smiled sympathetically. I finished my plate, excused myself, and stepped outside onto the back porch. The air felt colder than it should have. I made one phone call, not a long one, not dramatic, just information. Address, situation, timeline. The person on the other end didn't ask for explanations. People in my line of work learn quickly when something isn't hypothetical. "Understood," he said. That was it. I went back inside. She was rinsing dishes at the sink. "Everything okay?" she asked. "Work stuff." She nodded and handed me a towel to dry plates. For the next 20 minutes, we stood side by side at the counter doing something that looked exactly like a normal married couple cleaning up after dinner. My mind kept drifting back to the moment I heard her voice in the den. I tried to search for earlier signs, hidden resentment, financial stress, anything that would explain how someone decides to hire strangers to kill their spouse. Nothing obvious surfaced, which made the silence heavier. Eventually, we moved to the living room. She sat on the couch, scrolling her phone. I took the armchair facing the front door. 10 minutes passed. Then there was a faint noise outside. Metal against wood, someone testing the back door. She didn't react immediately, but I noticed the smallest shift in her posture. Her shoulders tightened. The handle rattled once, then harder. Glass shattered somewhere near the kitchen. She gasped. "Did you hear that?" I stood slowly. Probably someone trying to break in. The words sounded strange coming out of my own mouth. Footsteps inside the house. 2 men, maybe 3, judging by the weight of movement. The plan, I assumed, was to rush the living room. Violence fast enough to look chaotic. Instead, FBI, don't move. The house filled with voices, not the panicked kind,
clear commands, boots moving with purpose, a flash of light from the hallway, then the heavy sound of bodies hitting the floor. My wife turned toward me, confused. What is happening? Before I could answer, 3 agents entered the living room, weapons up. One of them glanced at me and lowered his slightly. You good? Yeah. The moment stretched. My wife's eyes moved from their jackets to me to the way the agent had addressed me. Recognition slowly spread across her face. Not the recognition of understanding everything, just enough to realize something fundamental was wrong. You called them, she said quietly. I didn't answer right away. Another agent was already reading rights in the hallway. One of the men who'd broken in was arguing loudly. The professionalism of it all filled the house like cold air. Finally, she looked directly at me. Who are you? A fair question, really. Someone who heard your phone call. The room stayed quiet after that. 2 agents stepped toward her, not aggressively, just procedure. Her eyes never left mine as they guided her to her feet. There was no screaming, no dramatic confession, just a long look, the kind 2 strangers share when they realize the past few years of their lives were based on things neither of them truly understood. They let her out of the house. The men who'd broken in were already in custody vehicles outside. Within 20 minutes, the scene began to clear. My supervisor lingered near the doorway. Hell of a night to make a call. Yeah, you okay? I thought about it. I'm alive. He nodded, like that was enough. Eventually, everyone left. The house became quiet again. I walked back into the dining room. 2 plates still sat on the table. Dinner had gone cold. Some operations end with cheering or relief. This one didn't. I sat down in the same chair I'd used an hour earlier and stared at the empty seat across from me. For 5 years, I thought the biggest secret in our marriage was mine. Turns out, we were both living with strangers.